Have you ever wondered who would show up if heaven needed to send its most powerful warrior to earth? What if I told you there's an archangel so mighty that even demons tremble at the mention of his name, and his story is far more incredible than anything Hollywood could imagine? Today, we're diving deep into the mysteries surrounding one of the most fascinating figures in religious history, Archangel Michael. But I'm warning you right now, what you're about to discover will completely change how you think about divine beings, and by the end of this video, you'll be desperate to know the rest of his story. Picture this for a moment. You're standing at the edge of reality itself, where the physical world meets the spiritual realm. Suddenly, a figure appears before you, radiating light so intense it makes the sun look like a flickering candle. His presence alone causes mountains to shake and oceans to still. This isn't just any celestial being. This is Michael, the archangel whose very name means "who is like God." And trust me, after today, you'll understand why that question is more powerful than any sword ever forged. Let's start with something that might shock you. Michael isn't just some gentle, harp-playing angel floating on clouds. He's described as the commander-in-chief of heaven's armies, a warrior so formidable that he leads legions of angels into battle against the forces of darkness. Think of him as the ultimate cosmic general, but with powers that defy everything we understand about physics and reality. But here's where it gets really interesting. Michael's abilities aren't limited to just military leadership. Ancient texts describe him as having the power to manipulate time itself, to traverse dimensions in the blink of an eye, and to wield divine fire that can either destroy evil or purify souls. Some accounts suggest he can appear in multiple places simultaneously, existing across different realms of reality at once. Imagine having a conversation with someone who is simultaneously fighting demons in another dimension while also protecting children on Earth. That's the level of multidimensional existence we're talking about here. Now you might be thinking, okay, but what does this actually look like? Well, descriptions of Michael's appearances throughout history are absolutely mind-blowing. Witnesses describe him as towering in height, sometimes appearing as tall as mountains, with wings that span across entire valleys. His armor isn't made of metal, it's crafted from pure light, and his sword isn't forged from steel but from divine energy that can cut through the very fabric of evil itself. But here's something that will give you chills. Michael doesn't just show up randomly. Throughout history, he appears during humanity's darkest hours, at pivotal moments when the balance between good and evil hangs by a thread. He's been spotted on battlefields, protecting the innocent during times of war. He's appeared to individuals facing impossible odds, giving them the strength to overcome challenges that would crush ordinary people. Let me share something that happened that most people don't know about. During World War I, at the Battle of Mons, thousands of soldiers on both sides reported seeing a figure in shining armor leading ghostly cavalry across the battlefield. The figure matched every historical description of Michael, and after his appearance, the battle turned in favor of the Allied forces. Coincidence? You decide. But Michael's influence goes way beyond just appearing during wars. He's known as the protector of souls, the one who guides people through their final moments on Earth and into the afterlife. Think about that for a second. This being has witnessed every single human death throughout history. He's been there for every last breath, every final word, every soul's journey from this world to whatever comes next. The wisdom and experience contained in that kind of existence is absolutely staggering. Here's where things get really wild. Michael isn't bound by the same rules that govern our physical reality. He exists in what theologians call the eternal now, a state where past, present, and future all exist simultaneously. This means he can see the consequences of actions before they happen, intervene in events across time, and coordinate cosmic-level strategies that span centuries or even millennia. Ancient texts describe his voice as having the power to resurrect the dead or reduce mountains to dust. When he speaks, reality itself bends to accommodate his words. But here's the fascinating part. Despite all this incredible power, Michael is described as having infinite compassion and gentleness toward human beings. It's like having a nuclear weapon with the heart of a loving parent. You know what's really mind-bending? Michael's battles aren't just against obvious evil. He fights against spiritual forces that most humans can't even perceive. There are accounts of him battling entities that exist in dimensions parallel to ours, creatures that feed on human despair and fear. He's literally protecting humanity from threats we don't even know exist. Let me tell you about his most famous battle, the one that established his reputation as the ultimate divine warrior. According to ancient accounts, there was a rebellion in heaven heaven itself. Lucifer, one of the most beautiful and powerful angels ever created, decided he wanted to overthrow God and rule paradise himself. This wasn't just a disagreement. This was the ultimate cosmic civil war. Michael stepped forward to defend heaven's throne. Picture this scene. Two incredibly powerful beings, both created with abilities beyond human comprehension, facing off in a battle that would determine the fate of existence itself. The clash between Michael and Lucifer didn't just shake heaven, it created ripples through every dimension of reality. But here's what makes Michael truly terrifying to evil forces. He doesn't fight with hatred or anger. He fights with perfect justice and unwavering righteousness. That means every strike he delivers, every decision he makes in battle is backed by absolute moral authority. There's no doubt, no hesitation, no second guessing. When Michael moves against evil, he does so with the full weight of divine justice behind him. The result of that cosmic battle was that Lucifer and his followers were cast out of heaven, sent plummeting into the abyss. But here's the thing that should give you goosebumps. Michael didn't just win that battle once. According to some interpretations, he's been refighting versions of that same battle throughout all of human history, whenever evil tries to gain a foothold in our world. Think about the implications of that. Every time you've faced a moment of moral choice, every time you've had to decide between right and wrong, there might have been cosmic forces at play beyond your awareness. Michael might have been there, invisible to your eyes, ensuring that good had a fighting chance against the darkness trying to influence your decision. Now here's something that will absolutely blow your mind. Michael isn't just reactive, he's proactive. Ancient texts suggest he has the ability to see potential futures, multiple timeline scenarios playing out simultaneously. This means he can intervene in current events to prevent catastrophic outcomes that haven't even happened yet. Imagine having a guardian who can stop disasters before they occur, simply by making subtle adjustments to the present moment. But perhaps most incredibly, Michael is described as having a direct connection to human consciousness itself. Some mystical traditions claim he can communicate with people through dreams, sudden insights, or moments of inexplicable courage during crises. Have you ever had a moment where you felt suddenly brave in a dangerous situation, or received a flash of insight that saved you from making a terrible mistake? According to these traditions, that might have been Michael's influence touching your life. Here's where the story takes a turn that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about reality. Michael's battles aren't just against supernatural evil, they're against systemic corruption, injustice, and oppression in the human world. Some accounts describe him as inspiring leaders, activists, and ordinary people to stand up against tyranny throughout history. This raises an incredible question. How many pivotal moments in human history were actually influenced by Michael's intervention? How many heroes who changed the world for the better were actually receiving guidance from this cosmic warrior? The implications are staggering when you start connecting the dots. But here's something even more fascinating. Michael's power isn't diminished by helping humanity, it's actually amplified. Unlike human strength, which gets depleted through use, Michael's abilities seem to grow stronger the more he exercises them in service of good. It's as if the universe itself rewards righteous action by increasing the capacity for even greater righteous action. Now, let me share something that might completely change your perspective on free will and divine intervention. Michael's involvement in human affairs isn't about controlling our choices, it's about ensuring we actually have real choices to make. Without his protection against spiritual forces that would manipulate and deceive us, our free will would be compromised by influences we can't even detect. This means every moral victory you've ever achieved, every time you've chosen to do the right thing despite temptation or pressure, you were exercising genuinely free will because Michael was fighting to preserve that freedom. Your good choices are truly your own, but they're made possible by his tireless battle against forces that would rob you of the ability to choose at all. But here's where things get really mysterious, and this is just the beginning of what we need to uncover. Recent discoveries in ancient texts suggest that Michael's role in human history is far more complex and ongoing than anyone previously imagined. There are references to a great awakening coming, a time when humanity humanity will need Michael's protection more than ever before. These texts hint at a future battle that will make all previous conflicts look like minor skirmishes. They speak of a time when the veil between dimensions will thin, when supernatural forces will become visible to ordinary humans, and when Michael will need to marshal not just heavenly armies, but human allies as well. What's absolutely chilling is that some of these ancient prophecies seem to be describing events that match what's happening in our world right now. The increasing spiritual sensitivity many people report, the rising awareness of good versus evil on a global scale, the sense that we're approaching some kind of cosmic turning point. All of this aligns with these ancient predictions. The battles Michael fought weren't just against ordinary enemies. Scripture tells us about his confrontation with Satan himself, a cosmic showdown that would determine the fate of humanity. When Lucifer, once the most beautiful of all angels, decided to rebel against the divine order, it was Michael who stepped forward as heaven's champion. Picture this moment if you can. Two beings of unimaginable power facing each other in a conflict that would reshape the spiritual realm forever. But here's what makes this story even more fascinating. Michael didn't just defeat Satan through brute force. Ancient texts suggest he wielded the very power of divine justice itself. When he cast Satan from heaven, he wasn't acting out of anger or vengeance. He was serving as the ultimate enforcer of cosmic law, ensuring that rebellion against the divine order would not go unchecked. This wasn't just a physical battle. It was a clash between order and chaos, between divine will and prideful rebellion. The book of Revelation gives us glimpses of this epic confrontation, describing how Michael and his angels fought against the dragon and his followers. But what's truly remarkable is how this ancient story continues to resonate with people today. Millions still call upon Michael when they feel overwhelmed by darkness in their own lives, believing that the same power that defeated Satan can help them overcome their personal struggles. Now let's talk about Michael's role as a protector, because this is where things get really interesting. Throughout history, countless people have reported miraculous interventions that they attribute to Michael's protection. Soldiers going into battle have claimed to see him fighting alongside them. Families facing tragedy have described feeling his presence during their darkest hours. While we can't verify every account, the consistency of these reports across different cultures and time periods is remarkable. Michael's protective powers aren't limited to spiritual warfare either. Ancient traditions describe him as having dominion over natural forces. Some texts suggest he can command lightning and thunder, wielding the very elements as weapons against evil. Others describe him as being able to appear in multiple places simultaneously, watching over different people at the same time. Whether you believe these accounts literally or metaphorically, they speak to something profound about humanity's need for protection against forces beyond our control. But perhaps most intriguing is Michael's role in what many traditions call the weighing of souls. Ancient Egyptian mythology spoke of weighing hearts against a feather to determine worthiness. Similarly, many believe Michael serves as the divine judge who weighs human souls, determining their eternal fate. This isn't about cruel judgment, but about perfect justice. The idea that every action, every choice, every moment of our lives is perfectly evaluated by someone who sees everything clearly. Think about the psychological impact of this belief. Creates a framework for moral behavior, knowing that someone like Michael is watching, protecting, and ultimately judging that has shaped civilizations. It's not about fear, but about accountability to something greater than ourselves. This concept has influenced legal systems, ethical frameworks, and personal conduct for thousands of years. Michael's influence extends far beyond religious texts, though. He appears in Islamic tradition as Michael, one of the 4 archangels who will blow the trumpet on Judgment Day. Jewish mysticism describes him as the high priest of the celestial temple, performing sacred rituals that maintain the balance between heaven and earth. Even in traditions that don't explicitly name him, similar figures appear, divine warriors who stand between humanity and destruction. What's fascinating is how different cultures have interpreted Michael's powers. Some see him primarily as a military commander, leading heavenly armies against demonic forces. Others view him as a healer, using his divine connection to restore health and wholeness to those who call upon him. Still others emphasize his role as a guide for the dead, helping souls transition from earthly life to whatever comes next. Modern interpretations of Michael have evolved but maintained their core elements. New Age spirituality often depicts him as an ascended master, available to help anyone who sincerely requests his assistance. Psychologists might interpret Michael as an archetype representing our inner strength and moral courage. Even skeptics often acknowledge that the Michael figure represents something important about human nature, our desire for justice, protection, and victory over evil. The powers attributed to Michael go beyond anything we might consider normal or natural. Ancient texts describe him as being able to travel at the speed of thought, appearing wherever he's needed instantly. Some accounts suggest he can manipulate time itself, slowing it down during crucial moments or accelerating it when necessary. Others claim he can see into human hearts, understanding motivations and intentions with perfect clarity. One of the most compelling aspects of Michael's story is how it addresses the problem of evil in the world. If there's a benevolent divine force, why do bad things happen to good people? Michael represents the answer. There's an ongoing cosmic battle between good and evil, and while good will ultimately triumph, the struggle continues. This gives meaning to suffering and hope for justice, even when earthly systems fail. Throughout Christian tradition, Michael has been invoked during times of crisis. During plagues, wars, and natural disasters, people have turned to him for protection and intervention. The famous prayer to Saint Michael, composed by Pope Leo XIII, is still recited by millions who believe in his power to defend against spiritual attacks. Whether these prayers are answered supernaturally or simply provide psychological comfort, their continued use speaks to Michael's enduring relevance. But Michael's influence isn't limited to times of crisis. Many believe he plays an active role in everyday life, protecting them from harm, helping people make difficult decisions, and guiding them toward their highest good. This belief in angelic intervention provides comfort and motivation for millions of people worldwide, regardless of their specific religious background. The iconography surrounding Michael is rich with symbolism. His sword represents divine justice cutting through deception and evil. His scales symbolize perfect judgment, weighing actions and intentions with absolute fairness. His armor indicates readiness for spiritual battle, while his wings suggest his ability to move between heavenly and earthly realms. Even his name, meaning "who is like God," serves as both a question and a declaration. No one is like God, and Michael serves as God's faithful representative. What makes Michael's story particularly relevant today is how it addresses modern concerns about justice and protection. In a world where evil often seems to triumph, where innocent people suffer, and where powerful individuals escape consequences for their actions, Michael represents the promise that ultimate justice will prevail. This isn't about revenge, but about the restoration of proper order and the protection of the innocent. Some researchers have attempted to find scientific explanations for reported angelic encounters. They point to psychological phenomena like pareidolia, where our brains interpret random stimuli as meaningful patterns, or to altered states of consciousness that might occur during times of extreme stress or meditation. While these explanations might account for some experiences, they don't diminish the profound impact these encounters have on people's lives. The question of whether angels like Michael exist in a literal, physical sense, or whether they represent psychological archetypes and spiritual truths, is ultimately less important than their effect on human behavior and culture. Belief in Michael has inspired countless acts of courage, compassion, and justice. It has provided comfort to the grieving, strength to the weak, and hope to the desperate. These are measurable, positive impacts regardless of one's theological position. Modern military units still invoke Michael's protection, with some special forces units adopting him as their patron saint. This continues an ancient tradition of warriors seeking divine assistance in battle. Whether this provides actual supernatural protection or simply boosts morale and confidence, the practice demonstrates Michael's continued relevance in contemporary life. The technological age hasn't diminished interest in Michael either. Online communities dedicated to angelic encounters share thousands of stories monthly. Meditation apps include guided sessions for connecting with archangelic energy. Even artificial intelligence researchers have drawn inspiration from the idea of benevolent, superintelligent beings working for humanity's benefit. As we wrap up this exploration of Archangel Michael's incredible powers and influence, it's clear that his story touches something fundamental about human nature. Whether you view him as a literal supernatural being or as a powerful symbol representing our highest aspirations for justice, protection, and moral courage, his impact on human civilization is undeniable. Michael represents the part of us that refuses to surrender to evil, that stands up for the innocent, and that believes in ultimate justice even when earthly systems fail. In a world that often seems chaotic and unfair, he embodies the hope that good will ultimately triumph and that we're not alone in our struggles against darkness. His story reminds us that some battles are worth fighting, some principles are worth defending, and some people are worth protecting, regardless of the cost. Whether these battles are fought on supernatural planes or in the everyday choices we make about how to treat others, Michael's example calls us to be better than we are. The enduring popularity of Michael across cultures and centuries suggests that his story addresses something universal about the human experience. We all face moments when we need protection, when we must choose between right and wrong, and when we hope that justice will ultimately prevail. Michael's story assures us that we're part of something larger than ourselves, and that our individual choices matter in the cosmic struggle between good and evil. So here's my question for you. Have you ever experienced something that felt like divine protection or intervention in your life? Maybe it was a narrow escape from danger, an unexpected solution to an impossible problem, or just a sense of presence during a difficult time. Whether you attribute these experiences to Michael, to other spiritual forces, or simply to coincidence and human kindness, they remind us that we're often more protected and supported than we realize. If this exploration of Archangel Michael has intrigued you, if you found these ancient stories and modern interpretations fascinating, then make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. We're just getting started on this journey through the mysteries of spiritual beings, ancient wisdom, and their continued relevance in our modern world. Trust me, there are many more incredible stories waiting to be told, and you won't want to miss what's coming next.